I very much mean them. I'm very serious. The damages that have been done by these two men, Paul Eggety and Bart Welch, it will always be in my life, will always be affecting my life. And when I move on to my new life, I'm going to have to pretend or fake many years of my life because of them, just to keep the peace, to make everybody happy, and to especially be able to move on with my life. Does it make it right? No, it fucking does not. The damage that they have done to my life is irreparable. This means I have to fake a life or omit to get by. And omitting will be a lot better and easier than faking, because I have over 9 years of information stored up in my brain. And then on top of it, don't forget, it goes back before 2010 when I met Lester Paul Eggety. So I have a lot of information up here, little fine details that is so important to everything that's happened. And I feel like I should be able to take a prisoner, a willful prisoner. I went to Paul's house and served him at a deficit to my new life, and then was attacked later on over it. What happened there, I cannot tell you, because people talk, and I was talking. So I said I was going to post a timeline on my Facebook post, but I think I want to just talk the timeline to the best of my ability into what I can share with you, because I can't share everything with you, because I could have a crucial piece of information that if I ever get locked up, which it seems like it's going to go that way, because I am not a person to let go of something that fucking important. There was a child involved, and so yes, I am very freaking upset. And the irate Quaker ravings of the pious photo that is Paul's profile photo. It's not mine. I didn't create it. That's not mine. I stole it. And I put it there on my profile picture. So yeah, even though I say I'm mad, I'm angry, I have a very good reason to be. So I'm losing my life over abusive situations, and of course it's even more abusive because no one wants to take responsibility or say I had direct involvement in that. And I have witnesses that are protecting themselves too. So let me go all the way back. Let's do a little timeline here. Of course, I may or may not include everything. I'm going to go all the way back to 3 months into my marriage, where I had packed up my car and left Bart Welch because he wasn't taking care of his son in the middle of the night. So I was getting up, feeding the child, cleaning the house, and all that good stuff. And he was working, and he was sleeping. He had sleeping problems. So he was either in bed or working. Never mind the various women that we've had in, as orgies in our menage a trois during the marriage. We had many menage a trois. And over the years, 2002, I had wanted a man, and he would not give me the choice of man. Every person I had brought up to him was not acceptable for me to have. And it took us to finally go on one of our trips to the Lamplighter in Ottawa, Illinois. So we went to Ottawa, Illinois, the Lamplighter, and we went with a friend. And I'm going to start naming names because this is important. Pete Ario, who lived in Morris, Illinois. I don't know where he is right now. He's supposedly here in Indiana. He never talks to me anymore. But he went with us to the Lamplighter there, and it was February of 2002. We were highly intoxicated. So, of course, I'm out of my mind, right? So, there were 3 Mexicans sitting by the front stage. And that's where we sat too, because the strippers like to come sit and strip for me. Woman on woman, it's comfortable for them. Unlike woman and man, it's different. So it tantalized quite a few people in the crowd. And there were 3 Mexicans there wanting to have sex with me. Now, I found them very unattractive. And I don't find a lot of Mexicans unattractive. But these were, of course, there was a reason why they were at the strip club. And my ex-husband had brought up, he was like, these guys want to have sex with you. Let me do this for you. You want another man. You want men. And I'm like, yeah, I do, but I don't want these. I don't want these guys. Well, he kept on pressing. And it was ridiculous. It was like, you can't accept the word no. It's not good. So I ended up crying. I ran to the bathroom, and I had called my dad that night, that February of 2002, and I was crying. Of course, I didn't like to tell him I was at the strip club and I was bombed out of my mind, but I told him I was scared and that something was going on. And he didn't call the police. He didn't try to do anything about the phone call. And I was hoping that he would. And I was scared that if I had called the police, that my ex-husband would have invalidated me there on the spot. Being I was highly intoxicated, and I was like nearly in the middle of nowhere. Lamplighter is kind of on the outskirts of town, and that he would chase me, and he later on admitted he would chase me down. So we closed the bar. It was me, my ex-husband, and Pete Ario, and we got into the car. And I thought it was understood that he and I were just going to go to the adult bookstore, the brown bag video there, and see what was there. I didn't think anything else was going to happen. I thought that situation was over with. And I looked at the rearview mirror, and sure enough, there was a car following us. And I kept my eye on it because I was, not wanting to think that there was an actual car following our car to go where we're going, and maybe it was those men. Halfway through getting to the brown bag video, I brought up, hey, that car is following us. Is there a reason why that car is following us? And he said, oh yeah, it's those 3 Mexicans that were at the strip club and wanted to fuck you. And I'm like, I don't want those guys. I don't want them at all. And Pete, was sitting there. He heard this. And I can't remember any kind of response that he had sitting in the back seat there. And my ex-husband's like, oh, please, let me, and got onto that whole, let me do this for you because you want other men. And I'm like, well, tied up, I'm like, I'm intoxicated. He was so, to give you a little bit of information about my ex-husband's mental mindset. His mother, he said, used to have psychotic breaks or something and would beat him while she was drunk. So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not going to get anywhere with this man who can't get it through his head that I don't want these men to have sex with me. And this is my ex-husband, Bart Welch. I'm like, where? I can't reason with my freaking husband. And it's happening in front of Pete Ario, and Pete Ario is a delicate man. He's scared he was scared, I could tell, what Bart could do. And so I told Bart finally, just kind of giving up because it's in the middle of nowhere, I said, maybe the one. One of the Mexicans wasn't that bad looking, but he still was not my type. He is not something that I wanted. So I raced into the adult bookstore, the Brown Bag Video, and he went on and on and on, trying to talk me into all three of them. And I stuck to my guns. I said, just the one. Just one. Now shut up. Just the one. So I went into the back room, to one of the back rooms that they're playing the videos and stuff, little arcade stuff. And all three of them pushed in to the room behind me. I wasn't given a choice. And so I did the three Mexicans in the ways that they wanted to. And of course, I was big and fat. I had my little latex trench coat. So a nice little Trinity look, but absolutely fat. And so when they were done, they pushed out of the door, and a African American man pushed into the door. And so there was a black man, and he told me, as he held me afterwards, which, thank goodness, he was a little bit bigger than my ex-husband. But it doesn't matter. It's the principle of what happened. You don't just do. If I said no, it was not okay, it just doesn't open the door for everybody else. Well, he told me that my ex-husband was going around in the store telling everyone that I was giving free blowjobs in the back room there. So by the time that I had this black man there holding me, telling me this, he ended up kind of shouting through the door, "Are you done in there? Are you done in there? We can go now." Well, I opened the door, and there was a line of men waiting to come into the room. Now, I don't know where his mental mindset was during that, but it was not fucking okay. And I didn't go to the police. I was scared. Pete Ario didn't go to the police. He didn't tell Bart off. He just shut up and well, what he saw, I don't know what he saw. But when I got into the car, I screamed, I was raped. Now, did my ex-husband say, let's call the police? There's not a police report to this day about this issue. And that's where I come in and say, there some of the list of names and facilities I've got there on my post broke the law. Because guess what? I was diagnosed with herpes in March. So about 2 weeks later, I had a pelvic inflammatory disease that landed me into the hospital and having to get cleaned out. I have scar tissue all the way up to my ovaries. And this is from that night. The doctor said, how is this possible? How is it possible for a married couple to have herpes? Well, obviously, someone had to have fucked around, right? Or rape. He told me that he told the doctor that he had an affair. I don't trust what he told the doctor. I said, sure. I was big, fat. I was down in the dumps. I was actually every now and then suicidal at that point. And I was like, sure, let's go with it. I didn't know it was going to affect my life for very long time, up to and including a professional later on. So I'm into BDSM anyway, so rough sex is not a problem with me. It's the principle. It's the ability to choose who you want to be with and in what kind of condition you're in. So Bart Welch broke the law, not just on the legal side, but also the BDSM realm side, because a lot of the people in BDSM say, hey, if you're intoxicated, you have no sense of consent. So we can be kinky all day, but in the majority of the BDSM realm world, he broke the BDSM realm law. But I can't get anybody to come forward about it. And half of them express gratitude that because I'm talking so much and bitching about it, oh, she must deserve it. She must be a miserable old woman. Can't get anything. But never mind. It must be all about that money, right? Well, yeah, I've got my knees tied together for the most part now. Anyways, 2002, many years of freezing him in bed because, it's just not that sexy. And every now and then he got that voice in his throat that he used that night of the rape to try to talk me into it. So when you take that tone of voice and try to lure me in to have sex, it's just not that sexy. It's not. And I was like, no, just get away from me. So you have both of us looking in opposite directions. And of course, he can get places. I'm 345 pounds and stuck online. And he is working in the professional realm. And he can work all the overtime that he wants. And he can sleep all the time that he wants to. And he can leave whenever he wants to. So, 2007, I found Gore, the Gorian, written by John Norman, which is supposedly a military man as well, but I didn't know that. I read it very loosely. It's another form of BDSM. Many years of BDSM experience, but this Gore is different. It's about a world with no rules, no laws. It's a lawless world and full of slaves and slavery. And you have different ways of being a slave or a master. It involves the use of colors and colors. And those who are perceived as colors. So you have blacks, you have whites that are black. Anyway, some of that, some people would do that stuff. And I got into some of the role playing online over it. Just kind of checking it out. So by the time I met someone, I came across a particular profile online. I knew some of this stuff, so that way, when I talked to him, it could make sense, and I could understand what he was saying, because this stuff comes with a different language. And by the time I met him, psychopathic schizophrenia was the mention. So you're talking about a whole brand new world with new languages and different animals and stuff, and people thrown into cages and sold off on auctions and stuff. Yeah. It's best left in books or fantasy and not in real life. But you get those people that kind of do it in real life. And I didn't realize how close I was. So I was role playing for the longest time. And I came across Order Wolf Troublemaker's profile online on FetLife. And we had conversations. I think since then he's destroyed his account, and good. That's good. I don't even know if it's him or if it's Paul Agady's fake account. Because both of them were into the gore and everything, and the stuff that Paul's stuff says, it lines up with that man's profiles and doings. So, anyways, the guy was into snuffy stuff. So I stayed online with him and talked with him for a very long time. And part of it was because I was studying to be a police officer at one time, and I was studying psychopaths. So I was deeply psychologically interested in what these people were thinking and doing when they were practicing these new ways of being of gore. And he was a warrior or an uber, and he had actually served in the military in his time, he said. And coincidentally at that time, or maybe not so coincidentally, I had met Paul Agady, his profile online in 2010. I had a submissive by then online, so she kind of gets mixed up in it too. I'm going to leave her name out of it, I think, for now. But she came and visited me from New Mexico. And, but before that, I met Agady. I had saw his profile on FetLife. Bruton Vitellis. And he's a writer and into mental bondage and such. And I went to go meet him in Lamont, Illinois. It was like the Firehouse or something. Firehouse Pub, some pub, a 2-story and everything. And there he was. And I didn't message him directly before that, but I think it was that I saw that they had posted they were going, him and Westy, Jacqueline Louis West, that they were posting they were going to that munch there in Lamont. And I went to my finery. I went to my little cat dress and my jewels and stuff. And I was interested in possibly having a BDSM relationship. You know, my marriage was fucked, you know, and just not interesting. When he was military, you know, I didn't know that necessarily at the time. But there he was, sitting at a table, facing his friend very tightly. And his girlfriend there, Jacqueline West, watching both of them talk to each other. And I walked up and kind of introduced myself. And they did say that he was the author, and he barely spoke to me. And I just like his book, barely spoke 20 words to her. And the stupidest shit. I mean, like, he was very much lost into his writings. And I think it's his service that did it, you know. And right away, talking about psychopathic schizophrenia and how it was so funny and how her son was suffering from it. And how old was he? 10? That's too young. That is too young. And it would have been, it would not have been suggested by professionals to label a kid as such or diagnose a kid with that heavy of a diagnosis. But supposedly he wanted to kill her and would sit there and stare at her. And well, later on I found out what they were doing. And it's like, I'd want to slap the shit out of them, you know. And what else were they doing when I wasn't around? But he kept his distance. He was talking to his friend Lane Ginsburg, which later on turns out to be a private investigations for military. And that's important to mention because it was used as a scare tactic against me later on, which is major abuse of rank and power. So time goes by, I meet the child, I see how they're interacting, and you know, I can't say too much there because I really would like some of this to go to court. There was equality problems, and Paul would keep his distance. So, did I really know him before I moved in with him? No, I did not. But I trusted my ex-best friend at the time, and I didn't I didn't recognize any red flags, even though my ex-husband had gone over and visited them with me one time. And they went off and talked to each other by themselves and everything. I didn't, you know, think maybe I should pay attention to that before moving in. You know what I mean? And who knows how much they were talking behind my back or anything. There were certain things said and done that make sense in retrospect. That makes this a perfect mind fuck. Being that they were military and I didn't really know how much until I moved in with Paul. The training that they get, and if you learn anything about gore, it can set the stage for warring ways of being. And it's not good. That time my tech was blowing up. After meeting him in Lamont, and I think that was October of 2010. My tech was blowing up. It was my computer, mainly. And it tore my family apart because my ex-husband was cleaning up my computer. he took over it and would blame my mom, who's now dead. I can't defend that she was actually verbally attacked by my ex-husband over the viral entry on my computer. He blamed her. He blamed Facebook. He blamed everything and anything because it was that pervasive. And that's what I found out too upon the attack of 2017. It was in every single freaking program that you could ever think of. It was that pervasive, that virus. And it didn't happen until I met Paul. So, is it that he was tracked by his own kind because he was in the military? Who fucking knows? Was it the advent of AI and he was that, on the cutting edge of technology? Who knows? I do know that I kept a log of what it was affecting. And by the time someone cleaned up my stuff, they found 3 keyloggers and 2 viruses on it. My phones, I would get a brand new phone and not even connect to the network, and it would start acting up and pumping marketing messages and everything. And I would get phone calls from unknown numbers and weirdos calling my number. Like, hello, I'm BMAC. I'm like, where is this all coming from? Like, I'm supposed to know these people and everything. It was fucking freaky. And I was like, and he revealed that he was intelligent. He was military intelligence. And I was like, and like I said, I didn't know this man until I moved in with him. And then he started pulling this mindfuck. And it kept on going about how Lane Ginsburg was private military investigations. And I go and look at, he can track people from afar. Just like Bin Laden shit. I'm not kidding. So he's got my mind going 100 miles an hour going, what is this? He deemed me a slave. He was abusing me and a child. And schizophrenia was the illness. And now I've got blown up fucking tech. And sometimes some people coming up and telling me that they're talking to me from him. And I'm going, oh, what did this man do to my life? It's that, or someone heard that I was talking about him and then came back and was fucking with me about it. There was someone too that said that they got into the back of my stuff deliberately and tried to keep track of me to see if I was okay. That's not okay. You do not hear me talk about this stuff and then pull that crap on me thinking it's funny, that it's a good thing to do. Because I'm telling you, a military intelligence officer got his hands on me and abused me. Now, he was physically disabled, but he knew what he was doing right up here. He knew what I had going on down there, the STDs. So he was saying things like, well, some men want to break a strong woman. Now, this was going on during my divorce. He's sitting there reading the terms of my divorce, trying to help me. So if you don't get the most that you can, then you're just a loser. Well, because he's getting some of my money. He's listed as my beneficiary. And then the talk about schizophrenia and the child. And then some men want to break a strong woman and different things that he said and did. Just because he's sitting in a chair disabled does not make it okay. He's my best friend from March to June, and then June he pitches a switch and then starts attacking me mentally and verbally. from then on out, after getting Cameron into the house and thinking it's okay to just call me female and forget my first name, and then laugh at me in front of the child, and this is happening in front of the child, that I'm telling him to stop calling me female and to use my real name, to call me Candace. Call me Candace. And then get sourpussed when shut down. And then call me a nag. And then when I go find someone to have sex with, he's walking in to my bedroom saying, "How was your night? Do you know if you don't tell people you don't have STDs, it's a felony?" And he's not my boyfriend. We're not married. This is a disabled war veteran. Who knows what he's doing? He's trying to drive me off the cliff and into a freaking hospital in the middle of nowhere in Kansas. Just like little fucking Cameron, and I dropped his name, who was institutionalized in a school while his mom was on the streets with a drunk in a van, and Paul was there alone in Atchison, Kansas, waiting for me to come in. So I'm farming two fucking people. Oh no, they still get away with it because they were professionals. I talk about this stuff, and people think I'm not farm fancy. And it's like, you need to stop. Well, because I have histories of seeking therapy from Dr. Linda Cramper of Shanahan, Illinois. I went to Plainfield saying, "Hey, I'm feeling a little bit suicidal because my ex-husband raped me, or had me raped by 3 Mexicans and a black man. And I've got STDs, and I'm scared to move on because, well, first of all, I have STDs, and I don't think anybody's going to want me. And I know Bart talks shit about people, their livelihood, and nearly streeted a whole family." And I told them finally, I said, "You know what Bart did? He had you lose your job at Kenny Manta." I got worse. I got 10 times worse. I really just don't know what I did in a past life. So, and he knew Paul. So after leaving Paul, I saved up for months, and I left the day after Thanksgiving of 2015. I moved to be here with my mom's family, Edith Austin's family, with Kyle Manier. Anyways, drug den. And these people knew. Bart and Paul knew I didn't want to come to Lafayette, Indiana and be around my mom's family because they're into drugs. They've had closed up shops, meth labs. They've been found on the streets, passed out in vehicles, processed. Hey, my Uncle William committed murder. That's fucking right. And it's so funny, we've got murderers and horse thieves in the family. It's just awesome. So it's like I went from a rapist to a military intelligence officer's house to a drug den. And when I couldn't fit in with them because of all the drugs, and I was not cool because of talking bad about a military man, when Kyle Manier was a Marine, okay? So he was defended, all of it. Everything in my past was bullshit. And so I got to the point where, you using my money to have groceries and help you with transportation and the likes, and then you abuse me because you think I'm full of shit and crazy, and I just don't fit with the drug culture. You can abuse me, right? No. So one day I said, I'm going to call the cops. I'm going to report you, I'm just gonna have done with it. Well, my mom suffering from emphysema, which was many years, um, was dying. She chose her family. That's fine. She never raised me. I was just an outsider sitting there, um, watching this, but to trying to get her a second chance, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. She's like, you need to leave. You need to go to the streets. Oh, that's fine. So I went to the streets. So how did I get living with her in the first place? Because I didn't go from just Agates and hers, Agates and series little places here in town. I did have my own apartment that no one ever visited. And this is an ongoing thing. No one ever fucking visits. I've had 2 flings that just were like, what? But anyways, it's like I had my own little spot for a little bit. And that went to hell after leaving Egedy. Like I said, I was running my mouth, and I think someone heard, and it started coming back at me, and I started getting people attacking me for leaving this disabled war veteran in Kansas by himself. Well, where, if the man was any kind of a man to begin with, instead of like finding a slave online and then introducing me into hell, uh, it's not okay. So I ended up going to my mom's, which was, of course, harboring drugs. This was a So it was first of all Comanche Trail. It was Barton Beach Road. Then it was my place, and then I went to Barton Beach Road. But then I went to the streets. So all that went down into the streets because of STDs and military ban and drugs. So 2.5 years on the streets. Of course, I went to the shelter and I got teased and all that crap. I'm not going off with any man. I'm not fucking. Everybody wants to know what's wrong. And I ended up outing myself about STDs after just saying, you know what, maybe I'm just transgender. I went with that for a little bit, trying to avoid saying I've got herpes and genital warts. And then I told my case manager too that I had it out with an intelligence officer before being kicked to the streets over drugs. And there is possibility that it was a drug cartel that the druggies were in debt to. Not going to go into the details of that. Case manager didn't do shit. Of course, I'm just crazy, I'm just making things up, or I'm just seeking attention, or it's just that my mom was dying, and it's all of these different excuses rather than looking at the paperwork that I have, looking at the CIA ticket that I have, and getting an attorney. Because if you want to go all the way back to my divorce, which is the jurisdiction of in Illinois, look at the CIA ticket. That's a national issue. So I should be able to go to, like, the state's attorney or something, with the help of the shelter or the LTHC that I was at. But no, instead, they secretly housed me after 2.5 years at the Lincoln Center here in Lafayette, Indiana, under the guise of disabled. So instead of investigating and doing the proper work about my claims, they said to someone else, she's disabled, and had me paying rent from the $1,400 a month that I'm getting from my ex-husband, and subsidized by the housing authority here in town. And truthfully, I was making too much. to have that voucher, but being labeled as disabled, I was eligible for it. And so once I said, what is this shit? I am not disabled and I'm going to work again. They kicked me out. They gave me 6 months. 6 months of $1,400 a month, and then $9.25 an hour for like it was 22 hours a week. I was making too much to be housed and ineligible for the program, which was a permanent housing solution. And I'm like, so you're just not going to tell me that I'm disabled. You're just going to assume that I'm disabled. And you're going to think maybe if we put some signs up and all that, maybe she'll go to the Social Security office herself. Instead of investigating all of this criminal activity that I'm spouting. And you can see I'm not partaking. So where is this coming from? Straight from my fucking head. Which they eventually, because I was harassed so bad for so many months at where I was living, they had me, after I shot a death threat off to the CIA, say I'm going to kill Jackie West, and I'm going to kill my neighbor John from 105 of Lincoln Center. They had me sent to the hospital, emergency detention order. Now, how did that cop get me wrestled out of my apartment? What spurred that on? Oh, it wasn't my neighbor coming out of its apartment and yelling and screaming at me, and then yelling and screaming at the police officer, and yelling at him, she needs to go to the hospital. Because I'm saying I've been abused by a military intelligence officer. And so now I'm just crazy. No one wants to look at this. No one wants to say, there was a child. She's mentioning a child. And it's all these years now. So we're going to let all this expire. We're going to let personnel change. We're going to let all the statutes go away. And she's going to land up on the streets again. I'm coming up on it again. And am I going to go back to where I was? To only be, she's just crazy? Get thrown into a hospital? No. I'm going to go to another state. And I'm going to omit, I guess. I've told 2 people already at the shelters. I messaged people. Yep. I'm going to take my chances. That's all who's going to know. I'm not going to come out about my STDs. Screw it. If I happen to get someone to land on top of me, I infect them. I did my part. I've been rattling my mouth. I've been reporting. No one else has. No one's been doing any kind of investigation. I just don't know. But I think that's why I'm going to leave it there. But that's the crazy timeline. I'm bipolar psychotic. That's what they diagnosed me as. Really? What? I'm dealing with crazies here. And yeah, I'm going crazy because of it. What are you doing about it? Or now I'm going to have to go break some laws? That's stupid. I did things to stop it. But it's just going to keep going. I just don't know what to do. Bipolar psychotic. Excuse me for being angry. Excuse me for wanting to have a little bit more from my life and to want to recover the 9 years of fighting. And I'm not kidding. This is fighting. This is not just surviving. This is fighting. And I don't like doing it, but I don't like my dad's, it is what it is. And oh, I don't know. And I just wasn't there. That's all I get from him. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. And oh, you got to get him out of your head. There's no getting him out of my head shit. He's forever branded into my life. My hip is branded. That little picture on my profile picture on my profile is my brand. If you want to get into the gore and Kajira bullshit, that's my brand. I am forever stuck with the knowledge of that man and what happened and how it's affected my life and all of those years that I have spent in turmoil. That's crazy. What? I'm gonna go for the night. I'm bushed, just got off work, and I'm running a fever about 100 degrees. I'm not kidding. But yeah. I love you all. I really do. I know I sound so scary, but it's not fun. It's not fun. Night night.